Hey guys, so today I was doing that's my girl. Last time we did a video here, this whole place was like a shithole. So we tore it out, made it a kind of a bro cave, and of course there she is, right by my girl, the Yamaha Raider. So today we're doing a new cable for the starter. A lot of people on the forums were saying that they're having a hard time starting their motorcycle, and I've tried new batteries, lithiums, everything, and it wasn't really making a difference. Sometimes it just have a hard time turning over. So I read somebody had said that they swapped out this cable. Others said they just added a cable, which I'm like, well, that was a good idea. But this is I think a 8-gauge cable, and I am replacing all of them. Everything from here, this cable is the one that goes to the starter, goes down underneath here. So you basically have to take this plate off and trace it down to the bottom. And then you swap out this cable and the ground cable, the one that goes to the oil. Okay? So you're swapping this one out, and then I still got a new battery. I'm leaving on the trickle charger right now. That's the old one. There's a new one. Genius charger right there. Look, those batteries, they're cheap. What did I pay? I paid maybe $60 with shipping, whatever. It lasted me 5 years. It didn't start as great as I'd like, but that wasn't the problem. I even took the starter off. I don't know if it's really worth having to go to these expensive lithium-ion batteries. I've had one in it before, it didn't work, didn't help. Resistance through cable is, most of you folks, you guys are probably all tech savvy. You know that the thinner the wire, the more resistance over length. So because this cable is 56 inches, the thinner it is, the more resistance there is. Just like when you buy those cheap jumper cables, the thin ones, and it's a hard time starting somebody's car. It's worth the money to get the better jumper cables in your car, because more current can pass with less resistance. So I'm going to swap this out. When I run into something interesting, I'll just show you with the video moving forward, and I'm hoping it's not going to be too difficult. Trying to get through that plate down here, I mean, that's a real tight, that's a bunch of tight wires right here, having to get through all this. It's a tight bunch of wires, but hopefully this will be worth it, and I will come back and record stuff as I move on. Okay, see you in a bit. Here's some of the tools that you're gonna need. Again, there's your silicone spray, just a couple of the basics, just a couple little basics, nothing crazy. That crazy Torx with the hole in it. I got this cheap thing online. I've had that for years. And of course I put the trickle charger cable on. So if anybody has seen anything they would suggest to make this project better, let me know. But that is it. The good news is that the kit comes with instructions, the Yamaha Raider Firewire installation instructions by Max Air. They come with all the instructions. As you can imagine, the photos aren't that great, but you kind of figure it out. Let's get started with this. So remove the seat, the ECU, bundle the wires that get wrapped. Remove the negative side of the battery first, and then remove the battery as a whole. Take off the positive afterwards. Get that out of the way so you have some room to work. Inside here there is a pin that you're going to have to dislodge, and if you can see right there, there is a tab that you're going to have to press out. So you just basically put a point, you go in there, put it in the inside, and you press it, and then this will slide right out. It's just a clip, a retaining clip to hold that in there. The new one, of course, they give you, slide right back in. You can see the tab right there. So that is going to go in that way. Tab in. just like laces out. Okay, this is tab in. And slide, there you go. It's not going anywhere. And push that back down. This is a fuse that was on there. They ask you to pull that out. So basically you just push this back in. Fuse. Make sure the key part goes in. Boom. Done. Little rubber grommet on there. Slide it back down. And there's a little catch on the battery box for it. So you just push it on the rubber. Now this is a perfect example of using a little bit of silicone. And we're gonna light on that. So we're gonna get that slid right on there, easy breezy. Just slides right on, no big deal.
One trouble spot here was that this cable was so thick it wouldn't fit. So I had to match it up to what the original was, but there's no bending this, so I had to use pliers and
So that's interesting. So this also went up.
slightly bend that
This
tab.
has an up bend. So when it fits in here, and this one goes behind the box, that seems like it's gonna work. This one, there ain't no up bend in that puppy. That puppy is super thick. They're doing it this way. Instead of it going behind, they're doing it in front. So it goes this way and front. So a little bit of a redirect right there. So they want it to go in front and around. This will go around here, and this, of course, is going to go to the battery. So that looks like that might work.
Okay, the next step is to remove the seat plate. And be careful of the screws for the mechanism. That sucker dropped and fell inside the engine, and I was like, oh
So
God,
we go
it's
to a
lost
12
forever.
millimeter. Now we're going to take this plate off here as per the instructions. I'm leaving this loose right now until I get this part handled, because this is the hardest part, it looks like to me. So getting this plate out, and I don't want anything holding me back.
As you're going to see, those two little screws above the latching mechanism, I took off the one on the right, and it has a nut and bolt on it. And you just hear tink, 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 tink. Down it falls into the abyss of the engine. By the way, this is a great opportunity to buy one of those little magnetic tools. I found so many things that way, because you can't see it, but it'll attach to the magnetic tool. Fortunately for me, this did bounce out and land by my kickstand, so I got lucky.
Oh, they didn't tell you about that. Okay. Yeah, there was a nut on this side that wasn't on the plate, and of course that just fell down in there somewhere. And, wait, luck shall have it. It has fallen all the way through. Don't you hate that? Now they want us to spray in these cables. Good Lord Almighty. Good Lord Almighty. So this is running way underneath. And as you pull it back, there it is. Okay. So I'm just going to give this a quick silicone spray. Okay. Loosen that up.
Okay, now we're going to remove the side cover because it's attached the key locking mechanism for the latch is got to come out of the way, and you need to cover off so you can see the cables back behind the frame.
Oh, wow, that was hand loose. That wasn't good. For this piece, you need one of these special, it's like a Torx. It's kind of like a Torx. Torx with a hole in it. The we can fuck you because you don't have the right tool. Yeah, that's this one. Bad news. This wiggled loose, but it was easy for me to take off just with my hand. Good news. So now this is making sense of why they wanted you to remove this cover, because this is attached to here. And when you pull it, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. There you go. See that puppy? You gotta get in there. It's so hard with this camera to get some nice footage, but when you pull this free, they ain't kidding. They are not kidding, man. So, okay, so this cable's gonna go down. Hopefully we're gonna get access through it here, which this is the nightmare when you first look at it. Like, holy crap, how am I gonna get that out? Take this cover off. Hopefully it's gonna reveal it down the side. Oh my God. Okay, you can't see this, but if I can lower this anymore. That nest right there. See that little gray connector right there in the bottom, right there? That's where the cable is running. You can see it right there. So we are going to go to the instructions and see how the hell are you guys suggesting that we get to that biatch, because I do not want to take out the secondary gas tank here, the auxiliary tank. One of the things the instruction said was they want you to cut this so you can pull it down through here. Okay. I have to tell you I'm nervous because this is really throwing my hat over the fence. That means that this cable will be totally wasted once I do this. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. No, I've got to do it. Have courage, man. Have courage. Okay. Just do it. Oh, wait. Come on. Thin snips. Close. We're close. Done. Oh, my God. I am totally screwed. That's it. I'm done. Hat's over the fence now. There's no turning back. Step here is that we're going to cut these tie wraps that go. Tie wrap. Okay. I'm going to take this horn off just to make it easier to see what's going, because remember the cable is running back behind, good Lord, in the frame there. You can just see it center of the picture here. That white clip in the back is where the cable is. So you're not going to put the cable back into that white harness. You're going to run it alongside according to the directions. So just from here, I'm going to take that horn off just so to make sure I can see. We're going to cut the tie wraps on the frame. Tie wrap, tie wrap, tie wrap. Okay, and then we'll save that boot because we're going to reuse that. Okay, so you can see how nice this is without the horn in there and the heat shield, right? Let's see. Let's see if I can get that right there. Now this cable, there it is. So I'm giving this a good tug and it's coming out of that harness, I hope. There it is. And she's out. Okay. All right. It should be easy breezy from here, I'm hoping. Okay, now we're going to pull. This is a 10 millimeter. Just going to take that off. Now the thing was, I did have this starter apart. The starter looked beautiful inside. There was no dust, nothing cracked, you know, as they were saying. boy, I tell you, if you look at this, it looks like an after-school project. Does not seem very thick at all. So I can see why that would be a source of resistance. And hey, maybe the $100 for this thick cable is worth it. Okay, moving on. That was a failed attempt. So what I'm doing now is I'm jacking up the bike because you couldn't get it through. You couldn't get the down this way. But what I did was I jacked it up and went from underneath. I'll get you a good look at that way, and placed it exactly where I wanted it, right up the side there, and voila. Let me get some light on that. There she is. Now that's much easier to route than trying to pull it, push it down, go from underneath if you can get a lift and have a friend help you. I'm living on the edge here with this jack stand, bud.
Now that cable is not going to stay there, that red part. It's going to go behind those two bolts there, that frame, back against the original harness. So that was just to show you that I got it up from the bottom, but I will be pulling it back down, pressing it behind that frame, and then pushing it up.
That's going to be much easier to pull through, to go through the top, that harness there, and then back out there. Okay. All right, we will continue. Okay, so we've got the cable running up, and what I did was I gave it a shot of some silicone down the spot here so I could slide it. I mean, that thing just moved easy breezy. So once you get some silicone on that cable when it's up here, just spray it, let it run down the cable, and you'll feel that sucker just come right up really easy. And then we used that boot back on. I ran it right through here. Right through here. I wanted to keep it away from the heat from the oil here. And now I'm going to attach, of course, the positive terminal to the battery. But jacking it up, this is not, this is totally an abortion. I mean, people know with a motorcycle jack it's easy, but this, I didn't have a motorcycle jack, so safety first, my friends. Have somebody with you when you do this. All I did was put wood on the frame, make sure it was equal, and then put the jack there for security. Okay, next step is to button it up, finish connecting these wires here, and I'll go ahead and tie wrap it, and then we'll check it out. So since I have the Noco fast charger, Genius actually, Noco Genius GS110, I'm going to add of course, the trickle charger connection, because it's a pain in the ass to get the connections back in there. So basically we just add that here. I'm going to add the negative one under here, and then button this up. This I'll probably run back into the eyeglass case, or whatever case you want to call that, back here, once I put that in. Project's all done. I didn't show you all the connecting all the little nuts and bolts and everything. You know how to do that. It's pretty easy. The big challenge on this project was feeding that wire. Starting from the top, impossible. Going from the bottom, lifting it up and pushing it up that way, that was the way to do it. It's not in the instructions that way, but worked for me. Again, I sprayed it with silicone to make it easier. And let's give it a shot and see if this bike starts up. I don't know, here we go. Wow, starts right up. My bike has never started that fast, never. It's always a crank and a crank and a crank. Checking to make sure everything works. Running beautifully. How's that tack? You saw the tack project I have online. I have the tack project. Yeah, it sounds real nice. Yeah, that sounds really good. I'm really impressed. My God, I've had this bike for, I don't know. I've had this bike for 6 or 7 years. I've always had that problem, but now it seems resolved. Thank God. You go through so many different batteries. You're looking at relays. You're looking at the starter. We're like, oh, it's a crap starter. The starter's broken. And maybe some of those things are true. The magnets inside the starter were cracking, and people were taking it apart and saying, oh, look at this starter. And then people say, well, I just replaced it with this other starter, and it worked. Maybe because you had that bad starter, but you'll definitely benefit from that thicker cable coming from the battery, going to the starter, and from the ground to the battery. All right? That's the end of this project. I hope you liked it. Take care.